On Thanksgiving night, my father shoved a stack of greasy plates into my son's hands in front of 20 relatives. He snapped, "You're old enough to work, scrub every dish." My nephew laughed, "Perfect job for you, Dennis." That night, we packed our bags and drove away, but what I did the next morning started the screaming. My name is Andrew. I'm 36 years old, and for the past 5 years, I've been doing something my family doesn't know about. I've been recording everything. It started innocently enough. I'm a sound engineer by profession, and I told everyone I wanted to create family memory archives. Beautiful recordings of our gatherings, birthdays, holidays. Something we could treasure decades from now. My father loved the idea. He'd smile at the camera, adjust his tie, and launch into stories about community service and family values. He's Stephen Flores, respected real estate developer, church board member, the man everyone calls when they need a donation or a speech about integrity. What he didn't realize was that my equipment captures everything. Not just the posed moments, but the whispers between courses, the comments made while clearing plates, the laughter when someone stumbles, the casual cruelty delivered with a smile. And for 5 years, I've watched my father treat my son Dennis like he's less than human. Dennis is 12 now. Quiet, artistic, prefers drawing to sports. My father hates that. He wanted a grandson who'd play football, who'd follow him into real estate, who'd be loud and confident like my nephew Zachary. Instead, he got Dennis. Sensitive Dennis. Creative Dennis. Dennis who reminds him too much of me at that age, before I learned to hide. My wife Olivia left when Dennis was 3. She couldn't handle my father's control, the way he inserted himself into every decision, every milestone. She moved to Oregon, sends birthday cards, calls twice a month. Dennis understands. He's always understood too much. So it's been just us, me and Dennis, navigating family dinners where my father seats Zachary at his right hand and Dennis at the far end of the table, where Zachary gets asked about his achievements and Dennis gets asked to fetch things, where my brother Austin and his wife Sandra laugh at my father's jokes about sensitive boys who need to toughen up. I've captured it all. 5 years of footage. 5 years of audio files, neatly labeled and time-stamped. 5 years of evidence that the man who gives speeches about family values treats his own grandson like hired help. Last month, my father announced he was running for city council. He'd been approached by the business coalition, he said. They wanted someone with integrity, someone who represented strong family principles. The campaign materials were already being designed. Stephen Flores, family man, community leader. I sat through that dinner, my recording equipment running as always, and I watched my father ignore Dennis completely while praising Zachary's latest baseball trophy. I watched him send Dennis to get wine from the cellar while he discussed Zachary's bright future. I watched him laugh when Austin joked that Dennis probably couldn't carry the heavy bottles. Dennis carried every bottle. He always does what's asked. He never complains. And that night, driving home, he asked me if Grandpa was ashamed of him. I told him no. I told him Grandpa just didn't understand artistic kids. I told him it would get better. I lied to my son, and I knew I'd been lying for 5 years. That was when I started planning. Not revenge, exactly. Just truth. Just a compilation of every family gathering, edited down to show patterns. 12 minutes of reality. 12 minutes of Stephen Flores without the public mask. I had no idea I'd need it so soon. I had no idea Thanksgiving would be the night everything broke. 20 relatives filled my father's dining room that Thanksgiving. The extended family, business associates he called friends, the neighbors he wanted to impress before his council run announcement. The table stretched the length of the room, covered in expensive china and crystal glasses that caught the chandelier light. Dennis and I arrived early, as always. He helped me set up the recording equipment in the corner, disguised as a tripod camera for family photos. He asked if he could sit next to me. I promised him we'd be together. Then my father rearranged the seating chart. Zachary sat beside him, wearing a new suit my brother had bought for the occasion. Dennis ended up squeezed between 2 of my father's business partners, men who talked over his head about property values and zoning laws. I was 4 chairs away, unable to reach him, unable to protect him from what was coming. Dinner lasted 2 hours. My father held court, telling stories about his latest development project, his plans for the city council, his vision for preserving family values in local government. People laughed at his jokes, applauded his ideas, raised glasses to his success. Dennis barely ate. I watched him push food around his plate, trying to be invisible. Then came dessert. And clean up. And my father's voice cutting through the conversation. Dennis, come here. My son looked up, startled. He'd been quietly drawing on a napkin, a small escape from the adult conversations surrounding him. Yes, Grandpa. My father gestured at the table, at the 20-place settings now cluttered with greasy plates, stained napkins, half-eaten turkey bones. He smiled that public smile, the one he used when he wanted witnesses to his generosity. You're 12 now, old enough to contribute. Take these dishes to the kitchen. Every single one. Scrape them, rinse them, load the dishwasher. Your cousin Zachary will help serve coffee while the adults talk. The room went quiet. Not the good kind of quiet. The uncomfortable kind, where people suddenly find their dessert fascinating. Dennis stood slowly, his face red. All of them. Every dish, every glass, every piece of silverware. Consider it your contribution to the family gathering. Building character, son. Something you need. Zachary laughed from his seat of honor. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. Perfect job for you, Dennis. You're good at staying in the kitchen anyway. More laughter. Not everyone, but enough. Enough that Dennis's hands started shaking as he reached for the nearest plate. I stood up. Dad, that's not. Andrew, sit down. The boy needs responsibility. You've coddled him too long. Maybe that's why Olivia left. He turned back to Dennis, his voice smooth and pleasant, the voice he used in speeches. Start stacking, Dennis. We're all waiting. I watched my son gather plates. Greasy, heavy plates piled high in his thin arms. I watched him navigate through the dining room, past the smirking faces and the pitying glances, toward the kitchen. I watched him trip slightly on the rug, nearly dropping everything, and I watched my father shake his head in theatrical disappointment. Careful, Dennis. Those plates cost more than your art supplies. I sat there like a coward while my father humiliated my son in front of 20 people, while Zachary preened and served coffee and accepted compliments on his maturity, while my brother Austin avoided my eyes and my sister-in-law Sandra suddenly needed to check her phone. I sat there until the recording equipment captured everything. Then I stood up, found Dennis in the kitchen surrounded by mountains of dirty dishes, and I said the only words that mattered. Get your coat. We're leaving. Dennis didn't ask why we were leaving. He just dried his hands, grabbed his jacket from the hall closet, and followed me to the car. Behind us, I heard my father's voice calling, annoyed but not concerned. Calling like I was overreacting, like this was just Andrew being too sensitive again, like maybe I needed to toughen up too. I didn't answer. I just drove. The streets were empty, most families still inside finishing their Thanksgiving dinners. I kept my eyes on the road and my hands steady on the wheel, even though every part of me wanted to turn around, go back, make my father understand what he'd done. But he wouldn't understand. That was the truth I'd been avoiding for 5 years. He wouldn't understand because he didn't want to. Because in his world, there were winners like Zachary and disappointments like Dennis, and no amount of explaining would change those categories. Beside me, Dennis stared out the window. His reflection in the glass looked small, defeated. 12 years old, and already learning to make himself invisible. I'm sorry, he whispered. 2 words that shattered me. I'm sorry. Like he'd done something wrong. Like he was the problem. You have nothing to apologize for. I ruined Thanksgiving. You didn't ruin anything, Dennis. But he didn't believe me. I could see it in his profile, in the way he hunched his shoulders, in the way he twisted his hands in his lap. He believed he was the disappointment his grandfather said he was. He believed he deserved to scrub dishes while his cousin received praise. He believed something was wrong with him. We pulled into our driveway. Our small house, nothing like my father's mansion, but it was ours. Just us. Safe. Pack a bag, I told him. Just clothes for a few days. We're going somewhere. Where? I don't know yet. Somewhere quiet. He nodded and went inside. I sat in the car for 5 more minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing slowly. Methodically, I thought about my father's smile, about Zachary's laugh, about 20 relatives who watched a child be humiliated and said nothing. I thought about 5 years of footage, 5 years of moments just like this one, building into a pattern so clear that even my father couldn't deny it. And I thought about his city council campaign, about the billboards already being designed with his face, about the speeches he'd give about family values and community integrity, about the reputation he'd built so carefully, brick by brick, smile by smile. My phone buzzed. Text messages flooding in. My brother Austin, Dad's upset. You embarrassed him in front of his guests. My father's assistant, Stephen, would like to speak with you tomorrow. Please call his office. A cousin I barely knew. Was that really necessary? Not one person asked about Dennis. I turned off my phone. Went inside. Found my son packing his backpack with careful precision, folding each shirt like it mattered, like control over small things could make up for having no control over big ones. Ready? I asked. Yeah. We threw our bags in the car. We drove to a hotel 20 miles away, checked in under my name, and ordered room service. Dennis fell asleep watching television, his breathing finally even and calm. I opened my laptop. I had work to do. I'd been editing footage for 12 hours straight. Dennis slept in the next bed, occasionally shifting, sometimes murmuring. I kept the laptop volume low, headphones on, reviewing 5 years of family gatherings frame by frame. The compilation was taking shape. I structured it chronologically. Started with Dennis at 7, small and eager, showing my father a drawing he'd made. My father barely glanced at it. That's nice. Zachary, show everyone your report card. Dennis's face falling. Zachary's grin spreading. Then Dennis at 8, Christmas morning, opening a generic gift card while Zachary unwrapped a new gaming system. My father's voice, Zachary earned this. Maybe next year you'll work harder, Dennis. Dennis at 9, trying to tell a story at dinner. My father talking over him. Anyway, as I was saying about the waterfront project, Dennis's mouth closing mid-sentence. Dennis at 10, my father sending him to get drinks while praising Zachary's soccer skills. A real athlete, that boy. Natural talent. Dennis at 11, quietly reading in the corner during a party. My father's laugh, still hiding in books? That boy needs fresh air and competition. I cut it down to 12 minutes. 12 minutes of pattern. 12 minutes of a grandfather systematically erasing his grandson while elevating his nephew. 12 minutes of comments that individually seemed minor, but together formed a crushing weight. I added timestamps. Context. Simple text overlays. Dennis's 8th birthday. Zachary received 3 times as many gifts. Family dinner, March 2023. Dennis spoke 4 times. Was interrupted 4 times. Thanksgiving 2024. Dennis assigned dishwashing duty in front of 20 guests. No music. No dramatic editing. Just raw footage. Just truth. The final clip was Thanksgiving night. Dennis's hands shaking as he reached for plates. My father's smile. Zachary's laugh. 20 relatives watching. The pile of dishes growing higher. Dennis's face getting redder. The trip on the rug. My father's voice. Those plates cost more than your art supplies. I watched it 3 times to make sure the audio was clear. It was. Every word. Every laugh. Every moment of casual cruelty delivered in my father's smooth, public speaking voice. Then I opened the family group chat. 42 members. All the relatives from Thanksgiving, plus extended family, plus my father's key business associates. The ones he'd added himself, wanting to keep everyone connected, wanting to control the narrative of family unity. I typed a message. I've been recording our family gatherings for 5 years. Everyone knows this. What you don't know is what I captured. 12 minutes that show the real family dynamics. Watch it. All of it. Then we can talk about family values. My finger hovered over the send button. Dennis stirred in his sleep. Dad, I'm here. Are we going back? The question hung in the dark room. Are we going back to the pattern? To the humiliation? To the pretending? No, I said quietly. We're not. I uploaded the video to a private hosting site. Copied the link. Pasted it into the group chat message. 6:47 a.m. Most people would be awake soon, checking their phones over coffee, starting their post-Thanksgiving Friday. I hit send. Then I closed the laptop and waited for the screaming to start. The first call came at 7:23 a.m. My father. I didn't answer. The second call, 7:24 a.m. Austin. Ignored. 7:26 a.m. Sandra. Declined. 7:31 a.m. My father's campaign manager. Sent to voicemail. The texts started flooding in around 7:35. I turned off notifications, but kept checking. I needed to see the reactions. Needed to know if 5 years of documentation would matter. Austin, what the hell did you just send? Sandra. Andrew, this is vindictive and unfair. A cousin. I watched it. I had no idea. Another cousin. This is taken out of context. My father's business partner. Stephen, we need to talk about this video. Another associate. Is this the family values you campaign on? 7:52 a.m. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. You've made a serious mistake. My father's voice, cold and controlled. None of the public warmth. This was the voice he used in private, when the cameras were off and the mask could drop. I sent the truth. You sent edited footage designed to humiliate me. During my campaign launch week. Do you understand what you've done? I understand exactly what I've done. I've shown people who you really are. Who I really am. I'm the man who provided for this family. Who built a legacy. Who gave you opportunities you wasted. And this is how you repay me? With some manipulative video. I looked at Dennis, still sleeping, peaceful for the first time in hours. You humiliated my son in front of 20 people. I gave him a chore. I tried to teach him responsibility. You gave him every dirty dish while praising Zachary. You made him a servant while his cousin played Prince. And you've done it for 5 years, Dad. Every gathering, every holiday, every family dinner. I have footage of all of it. Silence. Then, delete that video. Now. No. Andrew, I'm warning you. Warn me all you want. The video stays up. Everyone in that chat has the link. Your business partners, your campaign donors, every relative who watched Dennis suffer and said nothing. They all get to see the real Stephen Flores. You're destroying my reputation. I'm revealing your character. There's a difference. His breathing changed. Faster, angrier. The control slipping. You've always been weak. Like your mother. Like your son. I tried to make you stronger, but you're throwing away everything I built because of a child's hurt feelings. Dennis is 12. He's not a concept. He's not a project. He's my son. Your grandson. And you've spent 5 years making him feel worthless. I was preparing him for the real world. No. You were feeding your ego. Zachary makes you look good, so he gets love. Dennis doesn't fit your image, so he gets dishes. It's that simple. Another pause. Delete the video, Andrew. Or you're out of the family. The threat hung in the air. Final. Absolute. I thought about what being in the family had meant for Dennis. The humiliation, the exclusion, the systematic erosion of his self-worth. I thought about what it had cost me, spending 5 years documenting abuse instead of stopping it. Then I'm out, I said. We both are. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Dennis was awake now, watching me with wide eyes. What happened? I pulled him close. We just set ourselves free. By noon, the video had been shared beyond the family group chat. I hadn't planned that. I'd made it private, accessible only through the link, intended only for the people who'd witnessed Thanksgiving and needed context. But someone in that chat had downloaded it, shared it, posted it to their own social media. Within 6 hours, it was everywhere. Not viral in the traditional sense. No millions of views, no trending hashtags. But viral in the way that mattered for my father's world. Viral in his community, his business circles, his political aspirations. The local parenting forum picked it up first. Someone had posted screenshots with the caption, "This is the man running for city council on family values?" The discussion thread exploded. Hundreds of comments dissecting each moment, sharing their own stories of favoritism and family cruelty, debating whether I'd crossed a line by exposing private moments. Then a local news blogger shared it. Small outlet, but influential. The headline, "Council Candidate's Family Treatment Raises Questions About Public Values." They'd reached out to my father for comment. He'd declined. His campaign manager hadn't declined, though. She'd issued a statement. These clips are taken out of context from years of loving family gatherings. Stephen Flores has always prioritized family, and a few edited moments don't reflect the full story. But the video showed timestamps, dates, patterns spanning 5 years. Context was built in. I sat in a coffee shop across from the hotel, laptop open, watching the spread in real time. Dennis was back in the room, drawing, finally relaxed. I'd ordered him room service breakfast and promised we'd find something fun to do later. Normal things. Kid things. Things that didn't involve performance or judgment. My phone buzzed constantly. I'd blocked my father in Austin, but others kept calling. A cousin I'd always liked. "I'm sorry. I should have said something. I didn't realize it was that bad. My father's neighbor. I've taken down my campaign sign. I can't support this. A business partner. We need to reassess our association with Stephen." But also, Sandra's voicemail, angry and defensive. "You've destroyed this family, Andrew. Dennis will never be forgiven for this. You've made him the villain." And Austin's text, Dad's devastated. His campaign is falling apart. The business coalition pulled their endorsement. Are you happy now? Was I happy? I looked at my coffee, at the normal people around me having normal conversations, at my laptop screen showing the wreckage of my father's reputation. No, I wasn't happy, but I was free. Another text came through. Unknown number. This is Virginia Cooper from the City Council Elections Committee. We've received multiple complaints about Stephen Flores's candidacy. We need to discuss the video you posted. I didn't reply. Wasn't sure what to say. This had moved beyond family drama into public consequence. An email from my father's lawyer. The video you distributed contains footage recorded without explicit consent in private settings. We are reviewing potential legal action for invasion of privacy and defamation. I'd researched this. 5 years of research, actually, whenever I'd questioned whether keeping the recordings was ethical. In our state, one-party consent applied. I'd been present at every gathering. The recordings were legal, and truth was an absolute defense against defamation. Let them threaten. Let them scramble. Another message. Zachary's mother, Sandra. Zachary is getting bullied at school because of your video. Kids are calling him the favorite. He's 12 too, Andrew. Did you think about him? I almost replied. Almost pointed out that Zachary had laughed while Dennis washed dishes. That Zachary had soaked up preferential treatment for years without questioning it. That 12 is old enough to learn empathy. But I didn't. Because she was right about one thing. Zachary was 12. A kid shaped by adults who taught him some children mattered more than others. This was complicated. Messy. No clean villains except maybe my father. And even he probably believed he was just being tough, preparing Dennis for a harsh world. But Dennis deserved better than being prepared for harshness by experiencing it from his own family. My phone rang. Olivia, Dennis's mother. I answered. Did you see it? Everyone's seen it, Andrew. A pause. You did the right thing. 3 hours later, my father's campaign officially suspended. The email came through at 4 p.m. Friday afternoon, 40 hours after I'd sent the video. Subject line, emergency family meeting. Not from my father. From his attorney, Deborah Mitchell. Formal, businesslike, requesting my presence at my father's office at 6 p.m. to discuss resolution and moving forward. I almost deleted it. Almost ignored it the way I'd ignored everything else. But something in the phrasing caught me. Discuss resolution. Not demand, not threaten. Discuss. I called Olivia. Asked if Dennis could stay with her sister across town for a few hours. She agreed immediately, no questions. Protective now in ways she hadn't been when we were married. At 5:54 p.m., I walked into my father's office building. 10 stories of glass and steel, his development company name carved in marble in the lobby. I'd been here dozens of times, always feeling small, always aware that this represented everything I wasn't. Deborah met me at the elevator. Professional smile, expensive suit. Thank you for coming, Andrew. This way. The conference room held 8 people. My father at the head of the table, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Austin beside him, avoiding eye contact. Sandra next to Austin, her expression hard. Deborah. 2 other lawyers I didn't recognize. A woman in her 50s I vaguely remembered as someone from the business coalition. And a younger man with a tablet, probably a PR consultant. No Zachary. No Dennis. This was adult business. Sit. My father's voice was flat, drained of its usual authority. I sat across from him, met his eyes, saw something I'd never seen there before, defeat. Deborah spoke first. We've asked you here to propose a settlement of sorts. The video has caused significant damage to Stephen's reputation, his business relationships, and his political aspirations. However, legal action would likely fail and create additional publicity. So we're proposing an alternative. I'm listening. The PR consultant took over. We draft a joint statement. You acknowledge the video was created during an emotional moment, that it lacks full context, that your father loves all his grandchildren equally. In return, Stephen commits to family counseling and establishes a trust fund for Dennis's education. Money. Always money. Like everything could be fixed with money. No. My father spoke. Andrew, be reasonable. I recorded the truth. I'm not calling it a lie now because it's inconvenient for you. You've destroyed my campaign. You destroyed your campaign. I just showed people who you really are. I'm not a monster. His voice cracked slightly. I was hard on Dennis, yes. I thought he needed toughening. I thought. You thought he was weak. You thought embarrassing him would make him strong. You thought treating him like a servant while praising Zachary would motivate him. I leaned forward. 5 years, Dad. 5 years of making a child feel worthless. What did you think would happen? The business coalition woman cleared her throat. Mr. Flores, I've known your father for 20 years. He's made significant contributions to this community. Surely there's room for forgiveness, for growth. There's room for accountability, I said, which looks like my father admitting what he did, not spinning it as tough love. Silence fell. The lawyers exchanged glances. The PR consultant typed notes. Austin stared at his hands. Then my father spoke. Quietly. I watched the video 17 times. Everyone looked at him. I watched it, and I kept thinking people would see it my way. See that I was trying to help. But he stopped, breathed. I saw Dennis's face. Really saw it, for the first time. And I realized I don't know my grandson at all. I know Zachary's baseball stats, his grades, his plans. But Dennis? I couldn't tell you his favorite color. Blue, I said. Dark blue, like the ocean. He wants to be a marine biologist. He draws seahorses and jellyfish in the margins of his homework. He's brilliant and kind and sensitive, and he spent 5 years thinking his grandfather hated him. My father's face crumpled. For a moment, I saw the man behind the image. Tired. Lost. I don't know how to fix this. You can't, I said quietly. Not with money. Not with statements. Maybe not at all. That's what you need to accept. I stood, walked to the door, turned back. If you want to know Dennis, really know him, you can start by apologizing to him. Not to me, not to your business partners. To Dennis. When you're ready to do that without lawyers or PR consultants, call me. I left them sitting in silence. We moved into our own place in January. 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy, but ours. Dennis chose blue paint for his room, covered one wall with his artwork, set up an aquarium with 3 goldfish he'd named after characters from his favorite books. He smiled more now, laughed easier, still quiet, still sensitive, but without the weight of constant judgment pressing down on him. The video eventually faded from local discussion. My father's campaign never resumed. The business coalition found a different candidate. His development company continued operating, though several major partners had quietly distanced themselves. Austin took over more of the daily operations, and from what I heard, was actually good at it. I hadn't spoken to my father since the conference room meeting. He'd sent 2 letters, both unopened, sitting in my desk drawer. Maybe someday I'd read them. Maybe someday it wouldn't matter anymore. But this morning, a 3rd letter arrived. Different handwriting. Just 2 lines. I'm sorry for laughing on Thanksgiving. I didn't understand. Can I talk to Dennis sometime? Zachary. I showed it to Dennis over breakfast. He read it 3 times. Do you want to talk to him? I asked. Maybe. Not yet. But maybe. It was enough. Room for possibility without pressure. Space to heal before deciding on forgiveness. That afternoon, we went to the aquarium. Dennis pressed his face against the glass, watching jellyfish drift through blue-lit water, their movements hypnotic and peaceful. A kid beside him pointed and asked questions. Dennis answered them, patient and knowledgeable, explaining bioluminescence and water pressure and the difference between true jellyfish and comb jellies. I watched him educate a stranger's child with calm confidence. Watched him be himself without apology or fear. Watched him exist in space he'd claimed as his own. On the drive home, he asked the question I'd been expecting for months. Was it worth it? The video, I mean. Everything that happened after. I thought about my father's collapsed campaign. About Austin barely speaking to me. About family gatherings I'd never attend again. About the complicated mess I'd created by choosing truth over peace. Then I thought about Dennis's smile. About his artwork covering his bedroom wall. About him teaching a random kid about jellyfish without fear of being mocked or interrupted or told to do something useful instead. Yes, I said. It was worth it. Even though Grandpa's campaign stopped. Especially because it stopped. He was going to run on family values. Dennis. Use us as props in photos while treating you like you didn't matter. That needed to stop. Do you think he'll ever really apologize? Honest question. Deserved an honest answer. I don't know. Maybe. People can change, but they have to want to. He has to realize what he did was wrong, not just that he got caught. Dennis nodded, processing. Then, if he does apologize, really apologize, would you forgive him? I might. Someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back to how things were. It means acknowledging what happened and choosing not to let it define everything going forward. That's complicated. Most important things are. We drove the rest of the way in comfortable silence. That night, Dennis showed me a new drawing. A seahorse and jellyfish swimming together in deep blue water. He signed it in the corner. Dennis Flores, age 12. No shame in his name. No hiding. Just existence. That was worth everything.